Convoys of badly needed food and medicine began rolling into 5 besieged towns in Syria this week. Aid trucks were allowed into government and rebel-controlled areas. Officials say there will be deliveries by road to others soon. But ground access isn't possible to Deir ez-Zor, under government control but surrounded by ISIL fighters. The UN says the only way in is by air.
We will also hope then to have progress in reaching the poor people inside of Deir ez-Zor, which is, as you know, besieged by Islamic State. That can only be done by airdrops, and World Food Programme has now a concrete plan of doing so. It's a complicated operation, and it would be, in many ways, first of its kind ever.
In South Sudan, the World Food Programme has dropped supplies from the air. Airdrops are expensive and difficult to organize, but sometimes the only way to save lives. The UN Special Envoy on Syria says it's not just Deir ez-Zor that has urgent needs that can only be met from above.
Even eastern Aleppo, even in fact in Dara, eastern Ghouta, many other places, including Kefra and Foua, where people are in need of help.
The logistical challenges will be immense. Planes will have to fly high above the fighting to avoid coming under fire. Russian aircraft are often in action around Deir ez-Zor, prompting questions from journalists at UN headquarters in New York about plans to use a contractor from Russia to fly some of the airdrop missions.
If there were any airdrop, I think involved any airdrop in Syria, in Deir ez-Zor and other places that WFP is planning, would be a high altitude airdrop, which would demand some very specific skills and experience in terms of doing these kinds of airdrops. So that's why they are considering using one of their contractors, which has worked with them in South Sudan.
UN officials stress that only a ceasefire and work towards a political settlement will begin to ease the huge humanitarian crisis in Syria. But with peace talks in Geneva making little, if any, progress, convoys and soon airdrops may be the only way to get help to the millions of Syrians in desperate need in their country. Daniel Lack, Al Jazeera at the United Nations.